need to do that. Take 3. Okay. Hello, friends all, dark and light, bitter and sweet, happy and sad, searching or mad. I'm glad you're here. I'm trying to read my writing. Okay, so I'm glad you're here, where the coffee is hot and you are loved. Me, I'm Olivia, and I am here to do the beginning of a new series. This begins a series of readings I will do of fairy tales, mostly Western tales, but not all. For educational purposes, not for children or for highly sensitive people, as fairy tales can be very harsh and folk tales. I am going to begin this reading, and before I do that, I am going to have to reorient the camera, so bear with me. And I guess I'm going to take a look at that. So again, like I said, these are for educational purposes, these readings. And this reading is from The World's Best Fairy Tales. It's a Reader's Digest edition. It is The Little Match Girl. If you don't already have a beverage, go ahead and pause the video and go get yourself something comfy, something that will make you feel like sitting and listening, or going to sleep maybe. Maybe you're going to listen to this as you sleep, as you go out, drift off to Never Neverland. The land of Nod. This will be a complete reading, but as I said, this is for educational purposes. And so we can do so. The Little Match Girl. It was bitterly cold, snow was falling, and darkness was gathering, for it was the last evening of the old year. It was New Year's Eve. In the cold and gloom, a poor little girl walked, bareheaded and barefooted, through the streets. She was wearing slippers, it's true, when she left home, but what good were they? They'd been her mother's, so you can imagine how big they were. The little girl had lost them as she ran across the street to escape from the 2 carriages that were being driven terribly fast. One slipper could not be found, and a boy had run off with the other, saying he could use it very nicely as a cradle some day when he had children of his own. So the little girl walked about the streets on her naked feet, which were red and blue with cold. In her old apron she carried a great many matches, and she had a packet of them in her hand as well. Nobody had bought any from her, and no one had given her a single penny all day long. She crept along, shivering and hungry. The picture of misery, poor little thing. The snowflakes fell on her long golden hair, which curled so prettily about her neck, but she did not think of her appearance now. Lights were shining in every window, and there was a glorious smell of roast goose in the street, for it was New Year's Eve, and she could not think of anything else. She huddled down in a heap in the corner formed by 2 houses, one of which projected farther out into the street than the other. But though she tucked her little legs up under her, she felt colder and colder. She did not dare go home, for she had sold no matches, not earned a single penny. Her father would be sure to beat her, and besides, it was so cold at home, for they had nothing but the roof above them, and the wind whistled through that, even though the largest cracks were stuffed with straw and rags. Her thin hands were almost numb with cold. If only she could dare just pull one small match from the packet, strike it on the wall, and warm her fingers. She pulled one out, scratch, how it sputtered and burned. It had a warm, bright flame. I think this warrants lighting a match. Why not? It had a warm, bright flame like a tiny candle when she held her hand over it, but what a strange light. It seemed to the little girl as if she were sitting in front of a great iron stone with polished brass knobs and brass ornaments. The fire burned so beautifully and gave out such a lovely warmth. Oh, how wonderful that was. The child had already stretched her feet to warm them. The child, let me see if you can. When out went the flame, the stove vanished, and there she sat with a bit of the burned match in her hand. She struck another, and it burned clearly, and where the light fell upon the wall, the bricks became transparent like gauze. She could see right into the room, where a shining white cloth was spread on the table. It was covered with beautiful china, and in the center of it stood a roast goose stuffed with prunes and apples, steaming deliciously. And what was even more wonderful was the goose hopped down from the dish, waddled across the floor with a carving knife and fork in its back, waddled straight up to the poor child. And then out went the match, and nothing could be seen but the thick, cold wall. She struck another match, and suddenly she was sitting under the most beautiful Christmas tree. It was much larger and much lovelier than the one she had seen last year through the glass doors of the rich merchant's house. 1,000 candles lit up the green branches and gaily colored the balls like those in the shop windows that looked down upon her. The little girl reached forward with both hands, and then out went the match. The many candles on the Christmas tree rose higher and higher through the air, and she saw that they had now turned into bright stars. One of them fell streaking the sky with light. "Oh, now someone is dying," said the little girl. For old Granny, the only one who had ever been good to her, but who was dead, had said, "Whenever a star falls, a soul goes up to God." She struck another match on the wall. One more, there was light, and the glow stood her old Granny, so bright and shining, and looking so gentle and kind and loving. "Granny," cried the little girl, "oh, take me with you. I know you'll disappear when the match is burned out. You'll vanish like the warm stove, the lovely roast goose, and the great, glorious Christmas tree." And then she quickly struck all the rest of the matches she had in the packet, for she did so want to keep Granny with her. The matches flared up with such a blaze, it was brighter than broad daylight, and her old Granny had never seemed so beautiful nor so stately before. She took the little girl in her arms and flew with her high up, oh so high, toward glory and joy. Now they knew neither cold nor hunger nor fear, for they were both with God. But the cold dawn, in the corner formed by the two houses, sat the little girl with rosy cheeks and smiling lips, dead, frozen to death on the last evening of the old year. The dawn of the new year rose on the huddled figure of the girl. She was still holding the matches, of which the packet had been burned more than halfway down. Well, she was evidently trying to warm herself, people said, but no one knew what beautiful visions she had seen, and in what a blaze of glory she had entered, with her dear old Granny, into the heavenly joy and gladness of a new year. Hans Christian Andersen, translated by Paul Lissac. Okay, no commentary. That it will be reserved for an appropriate time. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. If you liked this, hit like, subscribe to my channel. I also do tarot readings. Check me out for that. But most importantly, just come back. Thank you, guys.